How's it going, everyone? It's Harvey from Mother SpongeBob. Now today is April 17, 2021, and today we're going to focus on, yes, the next potential major snowstorm that will impact the Midwest and the Northeast this week. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather content. Make sure to like if you like this video. Make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather content. So let's begin by taking a look at the European model. And yes, I can't believe what I'm saying, but we're in for another major snowstorm all throughout the United States, extending from the Rocky Mountains all the way to the Northeast. So this is definitely something to keep in mind. While we still are in the month of April, we're well into spring at this point. There's still certainly the possibility of major snow throughout the United States. So as we begin by taking a look at the European model, and as you can see, it's mainly quiet. We do have some showers in the southeast, but they're very weak. There isn't much unstable air to really induce a lot of lift to create severe thunderstorms, so nothing to worry about there. And we have the low pressure that brought some snow in the higher elevations of the northeast and interior portions, and it was very cold in my area, by the way. Like in New Jersey, it felt just very cold, just very ugly for a spring day outside. But however, that low pressure will eventually move out to sea, and we will see temperatures rebound a little bit in the northeast, it'll soon come crashing down once this next trough from the northwest comes through the United States. So let's begin by first taking a look going into the future. You see that it's mainly quiet throughout the United States, but now we see that trough coming from western Canada, where we do see an area of snow showers and as well as rain, and this really represents that there's going to be a lot of cold air behind this storm. When we see snow associated with these low pressure systems, especially in the month of April, where you typically don't see much snow at all in the United States, that typically means that there's a lot of cold air behind this trough, and that's exactly what's happening right now. And there's strong northwest winds currently occurring throughout Canada and into the Midwest, and that's bringing a lot of that cooler air further southward, the much denser air, where there isn't a lot of energy within the air molecules to really create that heat, the very weak in energy air molecules will move further southward, which is the reason why we're going to see much cooler than average temperatures throughout most of the United States for this week. So if we continue to move forward, you see that the trough eventually moves southward, and we do see a pretty big area of snow throughout Montana, Idaho, and this will even extend to Wyoming, as I think in the higher elevations you could receive over 6 inches of snow, so you need to keep a close eye on it. It isn't a very potent low pressure system just yet. There isn't a ton of unstable air to make this very potent, to make this a huge heavy snowfall threat. However, that could change later during the week, where it'll encounter a little bit more unstable air towards the eastern half of the United States, which is typical since the Midwest and the Northwest is typically much colder than what you'd find in the eastern half of the United States, mainly because in the Midwest, pretty much the wind is moving over land, and a lot of the wind comes from the northwest, which is much colder. It's not like the Atlantic Ocean, where they're very close to the water, which warms up the temperature along the coast a little bit. But so as a result, we do see a lot of unstable air typically once a trough moves from the northwest Pacific all the way down to the eastern half of the United States. And you see that as we move forward, that snow eventually extends to Colorado, Kansas, and we do see an area of mildly heavy snow throughout Kansas, Missouri, and this even extends to Iowa and Nebraska as well. And we do see pretty decently sized band of snow, where we're seeing moderate to heavy snow showers associated with this snow squall. And you see that this snow is definitely extending throughout the Midwest. It's dumping at least a couple inches of snow, I'd assume. And then you see, once this low pressure system reaches right around the Mississippi River Valley, once it encounters the warmer air around the southeast and the eastern half of the United States in general, thanks to the Atlantic Ocean influence, we begin to see an unstable environment here that will induce a lot of lift to enhance the snow shower activity to the point where we could see a major snowstorm throughout the Midwest. And you see this will affect Chicago. Indianapolis could certainly be involved. Detroit might get the worst of the storm, and we do see that this will even extend to maybe portions of northwestern Ohio, and maybe Cleveland could get involved, as you see that there's a pretty heavy squall of snow with high snowfall rates. So this certainly could dump over 6 inches of snow in some areas in the Midwest, even the most populated sectors like Detroit and Chicago and Indianapolis. So we need to keep a close eye on it. And if we move forward, we begin to see that in the in the Northeast, that there could be also a chance of snow. And while initially it's going to start off as mainly rain for a lot of Northeast, you see on the backside of this storm where the cold air is more prevalent, we're going to see some snow showers and potentially lake effect snow come off the Great Lakes, and we could see a decently sized snow event for the interior Northeast, which includes upstate New York, and a lot of New Hampshire and Vermont could get involved. And you see that this storm eventually gets quite potent as it drops down to 990 millibars, which I suspect that wind might be another threat associated with the storm once it reaches the Northeast, thanks to how strong this storm is. And we're seeing just a lot of unstable air to induce some strong winds. So we need to keep that in mind as well. And you see it strengthens to 988, which is equivalent to almost a category 1 hurricane, or right around a category 1 hurricane, which is quite potent. And we could see strong winds associated with this. And you see that this storm eventually just lingers over the same area for a long period of time, where we see the snow where we see snow on the backside of the storm just impact a lot of the Northeast, bringing a decently sized snow event, especially in the higher elevations of the Northeast. And then eventually it does move out right around the Friday time frame. Thursday to Saturday is right around when it will leave the Northeast and be no longer a threat. So obviously I'm going very far out at this point, 162 hours from now, which is nearly 7 days from now. And of course, when making predictions beyond 5 days, it becomes more uncertain, but it's at least there could still be drastic changes when we're talking about forecasts beyond 5 days out. So we need to stay tuned for that. But what's giving this forecast more confidence is that the GFS model is also agreeing with what the European model is saying. And when we have the two main computer models agreeing with each other, with the trajectory of the storm, the strength, and the snowfall amount, that really gives me high confidence that we're going to see a major snowfall event throughout the Midwest and into the Northeast. There's still a lot of questions to be answered, especially from the Northeast, because who knows, maybe there's that possibility that this trajectory moves a little bit further southward and the snow impacts some more populated sectors of the Northeast, like maybe Boston and Connecticut might get involved if this track were to move further southward. I'd say it's more unlikely than not, because typically in April it's rare to see snow that far south for the Northeast. Even New York City, even places like Philadelphia, it's rare to see snowfall that far south headed into the month of April. But there's still certainly a possibility that I do not want to rule out, and I want you guys to make sure you at least you guys are at least aware of that possibility, because this YouTube channel is all about mentioning all the possibilities so you won't get unprepared for any sort of weather event. So I must mention that there is that possibility that this storm could move further southward into New York City and Philadelphia. However, I do see it more unlikely than not, as I mainly forecast this to be a mainly interior Northeast threat. But hey, there's still certainly a possibility, so at least be aware of this if you're all around the Northeast. However, before this trough moves into the Northeast, I'd say the confidence is getting very high at this point, even though the forecast, especially for Indianapolis, Detroit, and Chicago, is 4 days out. Since both of the computer models are just in such close agreement with each other, this is just giving me a lot of confidence that this forecast will come for fruition and we will see some sort of major snow event somewhere in the Midwest. There could definitely be some there still definitely could be some noticeable changes over the next several days because, again, I want to at least point out we're still around 4 days out from this storm impacting Chicago and Detroit, so there still could be that trajectory difference that could extend around 50 miles either to the north or to the south, which would make a huge difference in terms of how much snowfall you receive in your specific location, which is common when we're talking about storms are especially when we're talking about storms that have a rain snow line, and any small differences can make a big difference in terms of how much snowfall you receive. So we need to keep a close eye on it. What really will determine how far south and north the storm goes is really how strong the northwesterly winds are to dip that jet stream down, to dip the low pressure system down. And it also is associated with this first low pressure system, where if the low pressure system is a little bit stronger and we see a little bit stronger northwesterly winds, then it's more likely a storm will move further southward before moving back up to the northeast, which would mean a more southward trajectory, which would impact the areas more southward, obviously, such as maybe south of St. Louis, maybe closer to the Ohio River Valley than initially anticipated. And for the northeast, maybe Boston could get involved, or even as far south as New York City. However, the same could be said for a track further northward if the northwesterly winds are a little bit weaker and the low pressure system is a little weaker, then it's more likely the jet stream won't dip as far south, and we'll see a more northward track to where the more northward areas will get impacted, like maybe Milwaukee. So we need to just wait and see how strong northwesterly winds are to induce a certain jet stream position. So we just gotta wait and see. I'd say the day we will determine where the storm will exactly go. Most likely, I'd say right around Tuesday, maybe Monday, because once that storm really takes that turn, it really gives a good idea of how far north or southward this storm will eventually go. But for the time being, it's currently still uncertain because the storm is still moving far south, and it's not until it takes that turn where we'll really get a good idea of where the storm will exactly go and who this will exactly impact. So we just gotta wait and see. Now, in terms of the current snowfall forecasts from both the European and the GFS model, again, they're very similar. So it's giving me a lot of confidence that this storm will come for fruition and bring major snowfall to certain areas in the Midwest. As you can see, there's a large area of snow where we're seeing in Maine around 3 to 5 inches throughout Maine, which is still a decently sized snowstorm. And you see that throughout the interior Northeast, especially in the higher elevations. You guys are receiving 6 to 12 inches right around the Adirondacks, and this even extends to Syracuse, New York. And even in the more populated sectors like Chicago, the 6 to 12 inch category is pretty much right at your doorstep, where you could receive over 6 inches of snow just with a slight change of a forecast to a more northward forecast. And then you see that throughout Michigan, throughout Detroit, we're seeing 6 to 12 inches around Detroit as well, which is considered a major snowstorm. In Indianapolis, the 3 to 6 inch category is right over you guys, or if not, right at your doorstep. So you need to keep a close eye on that. And then throughout Missouri, extending to Kansas, and throughout the Rocky Mountain ranges, just a large area of 3 to 6 inches and over 6 inches of snow in the higher elevations of the Rocky Mountains. So we need to keep a close eye on this all throughout the Midwest and the Northeast, because this could be a major snowstorm for a lot of you guys, and this could impact the more populated sectors of Chicago and Detroit, and even portions of the Northeast as well. So we need to just keep a close eye on this over the next several days, and it will really all depend on how strong northwesterly winds are to steer the storm further southward. But in terms of the current snow forecast, in terms of my current snow forecast, based off of what the computer models are saying and based off of my experience with snowstorms in April, this is my forecast, and you see it's not much different from the computer models forecast, where I'm putting a large area of 6 to 12 inches throughout Illinois, northern Indiana, and a lot of southern Michigan as well. And then 6 to 12 inches in the higher elevations of upstate New York. And we see 3 to 6 inches extending through Kansas, Missouri, and Nebraska. So this will be considered a major snowstorm for you guys. And keep in mind, just because you might be only receiving 1 to 3 or 3 to 6 inches, so you do not want to completely underestimate it, because there's that possibility that snowfall could drop at a very fast rate. This storm isn't going to be very large in width, so the fact that it's forecasting 3 to 6 inches of snow in a short within a short storm, that really means that the snowfall rates might be high with this storm. And you see there's a lot of snow, 1 to 3 inches and 3 to 6 inches, which is enough to at least cause havoc on the road. So you need to keep that in mind all throughout the Midwest and Northeast. But yeah, guys, just make sure to stay prepared for this storm. I will make sure to keep you guys updated with this storm all week long. And yeah, just at least be aware of this, and I'd say prepare. It's better to be safe than sorry throughout for this snowstorm, because it's not very far off. This snowfall potential isn't very far off in the distant future anymore, as we're only 3 to 4 days out throughout the Midwest. So make sure to prepare and just be aware that this snowstorm could be coming to the Northeast as well. But anyways, guys, I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather content. Make sure to like if you like this video. Make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather content. And I hope you guys have a good day.